Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated version of our clipping mask skill. So um, the student wanted to show their artwork with a shape revealing the artwork beneath it. So sometimes we want to do this because we want to only constrain our artwork to a certain area. Okay, so the student wanted to use these shapes here to then show the artwork through it. So in order to do this, you kind of have to think about mocking it up and getting your positioning right. So with having a mock-up like this where I have my shapes and then this little masking out kind of area, I want to make sure that I'm using my Pathfinder tool and then minusing the front so then it reveals underneath where things are so I can figure out my positioning. So I'm going to position this to where I can get the most out of the design. And I'm going to think about, like, you know, what's showing through in each of the areas. If I need to make any tweaks to the background image, then I would do that now. So I like where the positioning is. So now I just want to constrain the artwork to just these shapes. I don't really want this white background. So I can do a few things. I could try a few things. I can click on it, and then if I delete points, I can kind of get rid of it. If I'm in my direct selection tool, I could do that. Or I could just, just break it apart and just make sure I'm just only having those exact shapes in the exact position that I already have it shown. I could also go like this and select all my shapes and just hide the fill and see where the positioning is as well. Sometimes that is helpful, but I think the masking it out of the other areas, so it's just forcing you to look at these shapes as the constraints. Okay, so I have my shapes here. Now I want to make sure that I'm combining them together. They are not touching each other, so they're separated and separate. Okay, and what I need to do is to combine them into a shape. So, but I don't want to overlap them or anything. So I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to make a compound path, which means that's a more complicated path structure. So we're making a new shape that is not overlapping each other. So I'm going to compound path, make, okay, it doesn't look like it did anything else, but you'll see that it will help things as we go along. So now I want the background and all of its glory to just be constrained into these shapes uniformly, okay? So I'm going to click on the clipping shape, which has to be above the background image or images or image patterns or anything like that. So it has to be above it, kind of like a cookie cutter. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm just going to shift click the waterfall layer as it is here or anything underneath. Then I'm going to go into Object and then Clipping Mask and Make. And you can see it's there. Okay, so if I want to make any changes to this, is kind of a tricky thing because it's all kind of merged into one. So it kind of gets a little hairy that way. So, but if you need to release the the compound path, you could do that. You can release the clipping mask if you needed to, or edit the contents, and then you can go and make some tweaks and move things. Okay, and maybe a little bit more specifically, if you need to change something, you could do so. Okay, so there's lots of different features in the clipping mask and compound path that you can tweak and release them or edit them and all that good stuff. So that is my overview of how to make a more complicated clipping mask. Thank you.